Hello, fellow wargamers and naval enthusiasts. This is Gamer 1745 here with a look at SMS Helgoland. First, starting out, we're going to look at the history of the vessel, then we're going to do a bit of a deep dive into how it's presented here currently in War Thunder, and finally, we're going to take it out to battle for hopefully an exciting battle. So if you want to jump to any one of those parts, you very well may do so. But first, you hear this so often, I know. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. You can give the video a like, share this video out. You don't know how important that would be. And of course, I love hearing your comments about anything in the video or otherwise, so you can post those below. Right, okay, let's start here with one of the newest ships in War Thunder and their new Blue Water Navy class, the top tier German currently, as I'm making this video, and with a new power release, it is the SMS Helgoland. Okay, so I'm going to look a little bit at, like I say, the history. This was the first ever class of 4. This was the second class after the Nassau's of dreadnought battleships. Dreadnoughts. I'll go deeper in when I look at the dreadnought ship, but basically they were, 12-inch armed main batteries, and solely with the same main battery, if you will, same caliber. Where if you look particularly a lot of French ships earlier, they would have maybe like 2 pairs of 12s or 2 pairs of 11s or whatever, and then 2 pairs of, say, 10s and other, heavy guns. And so this was Jackie Fisher's, the first one was dreadnought, which sort of means fear not, idea of having the main caliber all of the same. And we still see a lot of evolution from the earliers, which we'll get into, like I say, later. So it was commissioned in 1908, laid down in 1908, commissioned in 1911. So you have almost 3 years, not quite, of building trials and whatnot to get it actually commissioned into the German Kriegsmarine setup. So that puts it just in time for World War I that is coming up. And there had been in the latter half of the 18th century something of a naval race between Germany and France and Britain, sort of them as a combination to a degree. Now, so her service history, some small number of cruises, particularly up to Norway, before the war starts. Not a whole lot there. One thing she did achieve was an award for the fastest loading of coal in the German fleet. I guess that was an important thing. When we go not over to X-ray, we can see the coal bunkers here on the side of that. It was a triple expansion engine as opposed to a turbine engine. So they're both steam, but turbine steam engine, which the dreadnought was. So this is still a bit of an older engine style, just as an interesting aside there. Okay, so the first major operation was the raid on Scarborough, Hartlepool, and Whitby along the English east coast. That was primarily a battle cruiser raid coming along, bombarding the ports and ships in the port. Now, the interesting thing about this, and it's important, this and other engagements, they were very close to this was sort of the lead battle squadron number 1, the German high seas fleet, and so it comes out into the North Sea, the bulk of the battle fleet. And it has the opportunity, if the captain only sort of knew it, if they could have done so, to engage, I think it was just 6 British battleships. The thing that the German Navy wants to do, the German Navy knows that if it's encountering the full battle fleet of Britain, it's at something of a disadvantage, where here it would be at an absolute advantage. So that they could shoot those other ships up, whether they would have sunk them or not, that's another question. But, and we'll get into that later on, but they could have shot them up badly. But because of orders to the fleet admiral going along is not to risk the ships. Germany, and it goes all the way up to the Kaiser, is not to risk these ships. These ships were thought, the high seas fleet, the modern high seas fleet, so valuable you can't risk them. And that is a critical element, in my opinion, with ultimately the failure of the German Navy, particularly in World War I, but also secondarily in World War II. The idea that these vessels, which they are a capital investment for a nation, that they're so valuable that you can't risk them, but in not risking them, you're already sort of losing. I get the idea, and there is a whole philosophy of a fleet in being is the term, and just that the fleet is in being. It exists, it's ready to operate, it's manned, it's, whether ready to sail or ready to steam, it's there, that it's a danger to the enemy, and the enemy must respond to it, must be, say, you can't just have a lot of merchant vessels running around unescorted because the fleet could come out. You can't, the other side can't operate out in a lot of smaller, independent squadrons because the big enemy fleet could come out. It's more of a threat than an actual use case, where the other, main style, I guess, I don't know, we call, I don't know, to use the fleet to to destroy the other fleet, an engagement squadron, basically, as I would say, a Nelsonian concept. Nelson is to attack and engage and sink the enemy ships wherever practical or wherever possible. That doesn't mean stupidity, but I would have, when the Germans were aware that there was a British fleet out there, or unit out there, that they thought was screening elements for the the home fleet, I think the British would have attacked. Now, because these vessels, especially battle cruisers, are faster than destroyers as a general rule of battle cruisers are faster than battleships as a general rule of concept. But generally speaking, battleships have a similar sort of speed, so you can sort of run away from other battleships. It's normally not a situation in which they can just keep up with you and keep shooting at you. Normally you could break off the engagement and leave, maybe with some losses. And then if the enemy battle cruisers continue to follow you and get close enough, and which are much less armored, you can blast them out. So yes, it would have been a risk. I'm even saying it would have been a risk if there was the British High Seas Fleet, but once they engaged it, like they did at the next major, well, there was the earlier, the Battle of Gulf of Riga. It was an attempt to, it wasn't a move to get past the Russian minefields outside of the port or the Gulf area, which they did, and sent in other ships to blast out the one pre-dreadnought Russian vessel, battleship, and a few other battleships in there. Or not battleships, a few other ships. The Helgoland squadron of 4 of the class stayed outside of the Gulf of Riga, mainly to, if the rest of the Russian fleet comes out, to be able to smack it hard. So it was involved in the operation, but was not firing shots in that sense. It was a supportive element again in the earlier battle. They did not fire shots. Okay, where they did fire shots, the main engagement of World War I in a naval sense, the only real big grand battle, the Helgoland, did take place, and that's the Battle of Jutland, or as the English would say, the Battle of Jutland. And I'm not going to go into that battle. You can check out, like, I believe Ninefil, I'm pronouncing his name right, has gone into a more detailed look, but he is much more qualified than I am to look at that as a more detailed action. But suffice it to say, they did take one major hit from, I think it was a 15-inch, 15-inch gun shell, which broke up, the shell broke up on impact. And it, the Helgoland was involved in destroying one British ship. I think it was a cruiser. Let me tab over here. Let's see if I can get the name. Boy, not that this is important, but destroyer Nestor was sunk by Helgoland, Thuringian, and other battleships. It says here on Wikipedia, meaning it was all the ships that were hitting it contributed to its sinking. That's its, I think, one actual destruction of an enemy ship, but it was involved with. It was hit from either the Barman or the Valiant, two British battleships, one of them that hit the 15-inch shell, and still managed. Okay, 4-foot 7-inch hole in it, rained splinters all around. And following the return to German waters, Helgoland and Thuringen, along with the Nassau-class battleships, took up defensive position in Jutland Roads, or in Jade Road, sorry. For the night during the battle, the ship suffered only minor damage. Right, so it only fires minor damage, and in the battle, it fires 63 main battery shells during the engagement, and that is it. And you will see when you play this, you'll often fire a lot more rounds out of it than that. And then it was one of the surrendered vessels, I think, turned over to the British after World War I. So that is its fate. The one big battle it engaged in and gave good service. Right, so that's the basic history of this vessel. Now we'll take a little more detailed look at these. So these guns are 12-inch guns, or you can see the Prince Eugen behind it there. There's a bit of a size comparison, which is a heavy cruiser of a later era. So yeah, we have that as a comparison. So 12-inch guns, and let's take a quick look at the Prince Eugen, because you'll be playing, if you're playing this is the premium. There is the, what is it, the Nassau is the, this is the premium, is, well, I have to check that out, or whatever is the regular tech tree, where this would have the 203 millimeter guns as the main armament here, and with a speed of 52 kilometers an hour. And here, which is one of the reasons I'm very glad to have this here, is we can look at its armor. 80 millimeters of armor on its main armor belt, homogeneous armor. Deck armor, 25 millimeters. We can look here, it's like 70 on its sides, on its face, 160 right there, and in its sort of magazine stack, 80 millimeters of armor. So, moderate armor for a vessel like that. We're going to go back to here, but now let's look at a battleship. So here, up on this armor belt here, 170 instead of 80. Down here, 300 millimeters of armor. We can see 300 on its, at least on its upper part of its. These are the elevators, which we'll look at in a minute, to bring shells up from the bottom magazines up and ready to shoot. In the face, here, 300 millimeters. On the side, 254 millimeters of protection, 400 for the bridge. So if you want to try to take out that bridge crew, you've got to hit it really hard. And I've been playing this vessel. I've had it for almost a week now. Been playing the vessel. I have a temporary rental, is what they call it, for this, of the vessel. And we can also see here the coal bunkers. Armor at this point, 25 or 2,550 millimeters effective at this point, just from these. We'll get into the coal bunkers. I don't know how correct that is. I just don't know. I'm not that big of an expert as it would be for effective armoring. But my God. And we can see the sort of outer 30 millimeters out on that. In the front, 110. And, 100 or 210, I mean, in both here. So we've got lots and lots of armor, even out here. So in its what is often not quite unarmored, but in a lot of vessels unarmored, we have 90 millimeters, which is, again, 10 millimeters greater than that armor, and 130 here to really stop a lot of shells coming in effectively. That doesn't mean you're not going to take crew losses in the game. Doesn't mean you're perfectly well off, but you are rather well off. Now so we can see here, this is a pretty good, now it's only 45 knots, but that ain't too bad, quite honestly. Though anything, these guys at, what was it, 52, and a lot of faster destroyers and such are just really going to outstep you. Do not plan, at least on most maps, and particularly the bigger ones, unless you're talking about the big circle ones where all the ships are in it at a time and just who has the most ships in it. You're not really going to capture points with this. That is not the play style for this. Now we're going to use the X-ray here to look at a few features here. Okay, the big classic, as I understand it, and I will be looking at the dreadnought. So hey, subscribe. We'll be looking at some of these other new battleships, and I will be looking at the British dreadnought as the top tier British vessel in another episode. Maybe out by the time you're seeing this, but the idea was to eliminate the smaller gun, or have the same main gun battery and eliminate a lot of the sort of smaller secondary guns. Now, even on the dreadnought, they didn't eliminate these smaller weapons, but they were down at the 76 millimeter range, not at 150. So we have the 150 millimeter guns here, and then up in here, up in here, and here we have 88s. So yeah, you have some of those smaller and 88s back here. Now these are having some smaller guns for the time period is important, because you do have things like destroyers, light cruisers, and light cruisers and destroyers can have torpedoes on them, so they are a danger beyond their just, if you will, light pop guns to a battleship. They are a danger, but you don't necessarily want to shoot them with your big guns. Not that you don't want to shoot them, but maybe you have a more pressing priority target another enemy battleship with your main guns, where if you're having something in the, below 100 millimeter, whether it's 76 or 88 range, that you want to pour a lot of fire into the lighter vessels, and that is where volume of fire very well may be becoming more important than main impact of fire. Your rate of both numbers of guns and your rate of fire. These are fairly slow. We'll take a bit of a look in game in a moment at the rates of fire. So they have these. Now, I don't know what it was, but I do know in 1916, most of these upper deck guns here and here in the class are removed and replaced with some anti-aircraft guns. I don't know what and how, whether it was the Helgoland or just other in the class were equipped. What do they mean? Do they mean Maxim machine guns, which obviously you could just stick around here, just any old POW, and even stick them on top of the primary gun batteries? Or do they mean something in the 88 or other range that can just point up into the sky more effectively? So I don't know how effective this with more anti-aircraft guns would be in knocking out aircraft. But this is how, is my understanding of how it was armed, or it's one major engagement of the Jutland Peninsula, and it is only later in, what did I say, 1917, I believe, that you see it being equipped with AA guns. So this definitely leaves, as we all know, with War Thunder, the ability to put, say, one of the other three from the Helgoland into the game as a premium with better AA, or just simply a 6.3 vessel or something. Now, saying that, in most of my engagements, okay, well, no, we'll get to that in a moment. But yeah, back to X-ray. Now, we've looked at the main armament, we've looked at the secondaries, and I'm going to put these in as secondaries as well. It does have torpedoes. 2 tubes here, or 2 double tubes there, and 2 double tubes there. This is where they're showing more ammunition. I don't know just how well these are set up for re-ammunitioning between them. Now, why are they so low? Well, I believe the primary design idea is having them so low is, if you look at that, they're below the armor of the vessel, so they don't need to be have weak spots in the armor and or just carving holes, which is more difficult through the armor. So they're below the armor, they're below not where it was possible to, or hit and poke holes in the hull of the vessel, but these would be sectioned off in watertight compartments, so that if you do have an impact or a hole in there, it wouldn't flood the whole vessel out. So, and you can't, if you armor, the old adage, if you defend everything, you defend nothing. So you have to concentrate your armor to some degree. So coming down below here, where it's unlikely to get a hit and may not be vital elements like your engines or your magazines, is where you're more thinking about doing less or no effective armor. Now, why are these here? Not entirely sure of the thinking, but you have to understand, and what is this ship called? Battleship. Okay, but here's the proper name for it. Line of battle ship. Separating the words out there, and I mean that. These are vessels, unlike this vessel back here. This is not a line of battle ship, or was not meant to be, whether the Germans, you'd consider pushing it into that role in the Second World War. But because this vessel back here doesn't have the armor to stand in the line, to form. The way navies fought, going back to the age of sail, is that they would form lines of battle, one ship in front, and in lines, have ships in front and ships in back, all lined up in row. Oh no, I didn't jump over that. So you would have them all lined up that way, with various spacings. I do know one of the vessels, I don't believe it was the Helgoland, it was not the Helgoland, one of the other ones, but of the class at the Battle of Jutland. The bridge was hit with, I think, splinters, and the second in command was killed, the captain was wounded, the helmsman was killed, I believe. And so the wounded captain had to take, got to his senses or whatever, and took over actually steering the ship, because it was in danger of either running into the vessel in front or behind as it was sort of falling out of line and causing problems, but he gets it back in line and keeps it in line. So it's really important. That's caused serious problems in the in battles. So, and you got to understand some of the reasons why they did this. At this time, well, before, obviously, you didn't have radio. But even once you have radio, radios are not maybe considered entirely reliable. And radio antenna masts and whatever can get shot away. So they would use signal flags as a reliable source of communication to ships up and down the line of battle, whether it would be running flags up one of these halyards here that would, spell out a message, or somebody like standing on the back of this deck having a flag in each hand, waving out semaphore commands to the ship behind or the ship in front. And, with the general idea of that you're playing follow the leader, but still you would communicate using flags. And then you would also, to keep things sensible, you're playing follow the leader. And there would be, a command that would go up, the flag, do a left turn, so you're turning that way. And then a second one would go up to execute it. So all the vessels would turn at once. Or you would, was it turn an echelon or whatever, sort of like, soldiers marching, is do the, left turn, but follow the turn at the same point. So when this ship makes its turn, the ship behind it comes to this point and then makes this turn. So this way, instead of having, like if you're talking about 4 ships, instead of having all 4 ships and pointing in that way, all coming, coming parallel to each other, you'll have now 4 ships going that way, in a line, one behind each other. So you need these different commands and follow the leaders. So these ships, unlike how we play in War Thunder, your ships and the enemy warships would be moving in fairly long lines of battle, quite possibly with escorting cruisers and destroyers in their own lines of battle. So, I know we're still talking about the torpedoes, so that you can make calculations upon your speed, your speed and course, the enemy's speed and course, and do the math and figure out, oh, hey, if we start shooting, and maybe shift the line of battle a bit if all your torpedoes are lined up at the same angle. I'll keep clicking off these things. Same angle for the ships in the class, and then spam out, if you will, some torpedoes that will go towards the other enemy line. Now the enemy, they do leave, they can be, you can set the depth of the torpedoes. Obviously they can go literally up to on top of the water, but normally they're a bit below the water, and so they're hard to spot even until they're fairly close. They're hard to spot, so you don't know that the enemy's launched torpedoes at you. You don't know to make evasive maneuvers. Now, maybe you start to see the bubble trail, because they're mostly compressed air torpedoes, Japanese used, I think it was compressed oxygen, which makes less bubbles than air if it's pure oxygen. But you see them coming at you, even, out here, you can't necessarily avoid them because you're playing follow the leader. You can't just turn the ship out from the other line, and ships aren't necessarily that responsive. And even if you see them, does that mean, and now if it's coming straight for you when it's way out here, you're going to be down that way a ways. It's the ships behind you that might be hit. How do you communicate just where it is? When do they see? So you can, and it may be to the point of getting a lucky shot, but these warheads, often hitting fairly deep, very well may blow big holes in the vessel. Now, so far, I think these are going to be essentially useless in this game. Oh, and it also has the bow torpedo here. Let me, yeah, right down here. It also has this bow torpedo. That might be a little more useful, but not much. But these torpedoes are, you can sort of spam them out there. You might get a super lucky hit, but hey, you might also win the lottery too. So they're not really all that useful, and I wouldn't plan on using them like you would with a destroyer. Yeah, destroyers are one of the ways to kill these things better than the battleship. And mentioning that, let's we're gonna just do naval arcade battles. Let's see if we can find one. Got all the, oh hey, good, we're going in. Hopefully this is a good match. This is good battles to show off this thing. Sort of a smallish battlefield. Let's see, we're gonna, well, I guess we have to start out here. Start in the Helgoland, of course. And I'm going to turn off all gunners, hold your fire, because I don't want them to start wasting ammunition way out here. Okay, I think about here. I'm not really heading towards sea. Now we're going to use our lighter ammo because we want it to blow up on impact. Ranging shot, and see, we just took a hit, partially because we're all in a nice little group and the enemy can just fire in here. And you can see how doing this is stupid. Mentioning that, we're going to turn. This is just stupid because they were probably firing at some of the closer vessels. Oh damn, the Atlanta's there. Can you go behind me? Are you going to be smart enough to... Oh god, I hate how they've done this. Oh damn, Atlanta behind. Behind me. Uh-oh, this is just going to be a problem. You're not steering to go behind me. But then again, you know what? I'm a battleship. So, sort of screw you. You have to do what I want. You're just a light cruiser. Okay. I really do hate how they've done this. Okay, good. There. Okay. Now I'm going to try to go behind the Westfalen. And you can see here how if we had been in a line of battle, a line of ships, ranging, overshooting one or undershooting another wouldn't mean hitting somebody else. And if we were spaced out a bit, so it's not like super, one right after the other, even if they have the range correct, which I don't know that that's good, but we're firing again. Make ranging shot. You keep sort of seeing, okay, you're on like verticourse. Damn, I was hoping this would go a little better. And we can see here, Prince Eugen that we talked about, the premium, is pulling away from me handily. Ooh, we've got a hit on it. Oh, we've taken a little bit of damage. Okay. I'm going to ignore the little... Okay, they're now traveling along in our direction. I can tell that better. Now, I will say this. Most of the time that I play this, and I've died in it, I've died to air attacks. So now if you could... convince, come in with some buddies, to somebody like the Prince Eugen or somebody else to stay near you, and keep losing our target there, so we gotta make ranging shots. So I'm looking around. Oh, we're not gonna see. Yeah, maybe I should stay on this a little better, but I do want to see what's going on. Stay near you, they would give you anti-aircraft protection. Oh, another hit. So we're sort of hitting this light cruiser that we're barely seeing the tops of. They would have people on the... They see the crow's nest up there, but they are unable to aim. You have to be down... the searchlights there, but the aiming devices are lower. You see right above that armored bridge. Right, sort of, right behind the turret there. That the thing that's sort of paralleling the bar that's paralleling the turrets. That's your sights when you're looking this way through it. It's what you're sort of looking through. Now that we're coming here. No, I'm not the best at naval gunnery. This is not why you should be watching me. Shell splash. Okay, well, we've got another hit there, though not much damage, I don't think, although their main sort of compartment is. Let's leave them over a little. Okay, let's switch to this light cruiser. No, light cruiser there. Okay, we see some torpedoes coming this way, so I'm going to make a turn. Whether that... Look a lot closer when I... Oh man, maybe they're... Oh, yep, oh, yep, see, we did that turn just right. I want to swing into them. Bit of a spread there. Fire in here. We've got a ranging shot in. Now for a light cruiser and less, probably the lighter armor will do, or lighter penetrating weapons will probably do best. We need to lead him a bit more. Had a gun barrel damage, but our crew will get that back into shape. Get the barrel straightener out her. They don't talk too much about those in some of the videos. How they used them in the war, I guess. I don't know. Okay, you're swinging out hard. Let's fire like there. These islands are helping me. A little bit of fire. Ooh, good hit. Oh, look at those hits. Look at all those hits through there. Our smokestacks have taken a bit of a hit. But do look, and I'm really glad we're having this. You can see the boats all shattered up in our central area there, and we're on fire. But we still have 83% of our crew. Let's change target. Wait for it to go white. That looks like a Brooklyn. Light cruiser, but it's basically a light cruiser. It's a heavy cruiser with light cruiser armament because of the London Naval Treaty stuff. Okay, we need to... We're losing our protection of the island, and those... okay, now is the time, maybe a little bit more now, is the time to go over to the secondary, start engaging the enemy. all those Fletchers and other destroyers, they'll start engaging. Like I say, maybe a little sooner would have been better. I'm worried mainly about torpedoes here. Yeah, I'm being hit by the things, but I don't care. Not that much. Oh, right, almost into its magazines. That's what I'm really looking to hit. Oh, we see some torpedoes coming that way. Fire some of my rear turrets. I'm engaged to this point. Ooh, some good hits. Good hits. It looks like we've taken out most of its engine. Can we get away from that torpedo? I don't know. Let's go fast, fast. Faster, faster, faster. It's pretty close through that. Okay, well, we're gonna swing it a little bit this way to keep our rear. Ooh, another good set of hits. I'm gonna, oh, that's cute. Okay, well, let's switch over to this one that we were shooting at a little earlier. Pretty good. Let's see there, the Brooklyn. Let's see if we can get our torpedo around. I know I did say these are mostly useless. Well, I'm going to hit the land here, especially on these maps. Oh, that's too far. Well, let's get rid of that out. Okay, back to this. Russell. Now we're in close. We still have 83% of our crew alive. No major holes. A little bit of fire. And ooh. Looks like all of our guns are currently working. Our main battery guns, at least. Not so much. Yep, okay. Well, something went down. Is that the Brooklyn? Yep, Brooklyn class went down. Somebody else gets the credit for it. Not sure who did most of the damage, but it was a British light cruiser, I think. Hopefully we're going to be able to fire over this low island there here in a moment for some successful hits. Yeah, it looks like maybe a nice setup. Oh, turn. Slow up. Turn. Okay. Keep turning. Let's... Ooh, took him out. Took out the Belfast. I was right. British. Okay, we want to get out of those torpedoes. Now, it depends on where you take the torpedo hit. I've definitely survived and pumped all the water out of a torpedo hit in one of these. I've also been sunk by them. So it sort of depends. We're now down to 81% of our crew. Let's change targeting. Get that turret around on him. Get that turret around on him. Hoping that destroyer just goes up soon. Okay, see that? The AM-1, that bombers particularly, but bombers, torpedo vessels is what I fear in this thing. Currently, oh, someday we're going to have, you know, New Jersey class and other big battleships that will just kill this thing pretty damn easily, I would presume, on the... Okay, looks like we have some, yeah, some of our guns are ready to fire. We gotta get there. Oh, well, fortunately they ran out of range. Okay, well, let's go after this destroyer again. And lead it a bit more. about that one. We got mission failed. Okay, well, the mission failed, but I think that was actually a pretty good example of how this vessel can work. Fortunately, we did not have any air attacks. This has no effective anti-aircraft, so they can come in. You can get a Stuka or something, you know, some sort of basic dive bomber or level bomber, come in fairly low and just blast this thing, whether in realistic or arcade. It just has zero anti-aircraft fire. Oh, if you're wondering, this is the crest of Helgoland or whatever, not some other flag. And now I have survived some air hits, but probably from lighter bombs. I don't know exactly who was dropping on me. But yeah, its air is its biggest weakness. Secondarily, it's the weakness to torpedoes. I have seen and been very worried about and been killed by LSs. So again, if you want to play this, and this is going to looking a little bit more in here. If you're running a coastal fleet vessel, it will only earn you research points for coastal fleet vessels. If you're running blue water fleets, you can see I have it. The only reason I have this is they gave it to me for a week. Though I do have, we'll look over here, the U.S. Navy. I'm right here, though they gave me these. Again, for a week, I'm going to make videos on them, but I'll get there much quicker. If you're running a blue water fleet, you'll earn points up here, and you can, as you can see, mix them in the battle. I have, when I was playing some custom battles with friends, I was being taken out in my Helgoland. They were able to sneak up on me, even out in the blue water, in a little LS, the LS3, I believe. But yeah, those I worry about. These guys. So if you're going, hey, I'm being up tiered, whether like if you're playing, you know, like my friends were playing with me and they didn't have anywhere near the top tier that one does. Naval vessels, I go, yeah, suck it up, get your little LSs. Don't worry about, some of these flak barges and these other slow stuff. Get or gun only armed. Get your motor torpedo boats out there and kill thing. And they are very deadly, even at up tiered. It is unlike tanks, unlike aircraft, I presume. I don't fly high tier aircraft where low tier would have no real effect. Here, low tier has super effect in high tier battles. They just do. And you can judge, that and how the intermix of that plays. This or this are effective at just different play styles. Even on a pure open water map, these things can come and be deadly. So don't let that put you off. Now, gun small boats are only useful against other small boats. They aren't really useful against this. So torpedoes are what I fear in this, and aircraft. Doesn't mean I'm not going to take damage. Doesn't mean I'm not going to be sunk by other surface vessels, but that's not my main fear. My primary fear, it's aircraft and torpedoes. So that's my analysis of the SMS Helgoland. I think it currently we're playing with. It's a very good vessel to have. Highly recommend it. What will it be like once we're seeing a lot of World War II naval, battleships in the game, and how the BRs will work out if you're watching this well into the future? I don't know. I just don't know how it will be, if you're running these against a Yamato or something, will they be shoved into the same game? Will the Yamato be at 6-7 and just bashing you up, or will the Yamato be at 10-0 so you won't see them at 6-0? We don't know yet. but in what we're seeing here, because basically your 5-0s and higher, if you have this in there, you're stuck together. You're going to be battling here, so you're going to have to figure ways out around these. So again, hey, if you made it this far, probably like the video, give it a like. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And again, I love hearing your comments, and please share the videos. Thanks so much. See you next time for more historical gaming.